Victim of a random train, stabbing impressed American dream, and could have taken the world by storm. Neighbors say it's Charlotte. She fled, by the way, the war in Ukraine, hoping to build a new life. In the US, United States, instead 23 years old, Iryna Zarutska was stabbed to death in an unprovoked attack while riding a Charlotte, North Carolina light rail train home from work. And for her neighbors, by the way, for her neighbors, the tragedy is made all the more painful each time, and they walk into their homes and see the flowers she painted and the bright strokes of pinks and greens, and signed, by the way, with her delicate hand. And the neighbors, by the way, in Hunter's Valley, a suburb, by the way, of Charlotte, where Zarutska once lived with her family, and told Fox News Digital that they first meet the Ukrainian, by the way, refuge through a local Facebook group, and where she posted, by the way, that she was looking for opportunities to paint, offering to add flowers or murals to homes. And she came over, by the way, and did some samples for us, and we still have them. A neighbor says that she was here, by the way, a couple of days and painting upstairs, and we got to know her. And despite her limited English, and is quickly connected with them through translation applications. And she didn't know, by the way, English at the time, and so we used Google Translate. And one neighbor recalled, and she was just a real sweet, by the way, girl. Real sweet girl, yes. And very shy, but very smart. And the family. The family, by the way, noted she was working to learn English. She wanted to learn English, and so she could find more opportunities actually. Neighbors even gave her a computer to help her study. And Zarutska, by the way, spent days painting upstairs in one family's home and taking breaks to share stories about life in Ukraine. Sorry. And she was very cheerful. And another neighbor remembered, by the way, we had some good moments with her. And her obituary, by the way, obituary describes her as a graduate of Synergy College in Kiev. In Kiev, with a degree in art and restoration, loved ones highlighted her deep creativity, love for animals, and determination to keep learning. And Iryna, by the way, will be remembered for her kindness and her creativity, and the lasting impression she left on everyone she meets. And her absence, by the way, leaves a deep void, but her spirit will forever remain in the hearts of those who loved her. And her obituary, by the way, read on 22 of August, by the way, especially, the police say Zarutska was ambushed while riding the light rail home from her job at Zibidi's Pizza. As Yorti says, by the way, surveillance video shows De Carlos, by the way, De Carlos De Juan Brown Jr. stabbing her three times in what investigators described as a seemingly unprovoked attack, and she was still wearing her work uniform at the time. And U.S. Attorney, by the way, for the Western District of North Carolina, Russ Ferguson, underscored, by the way, the tragedy at a Tuesday news conference. And she is a refugee. And she literally came to the United States from a bomb shelter in Ukraine to escape the war. And she says that, he said, and she was going about her day. And she was coming home from work on a light rail train, like all of us do all the time. And she was brutally murdered. Is charged at the state level with first-degree murder and now faces a federal charge of committing a fatal act on a public transportation system. And the prosecutors, by the way, are seeking life in prison without parole and are reviewing whether the case qualifies for the death penalty. And court documents, by the way, obtained by Fox News digital reveal Brown's extensive criminal background and spanning more than a decade. And this record, by the way, includes convictions for theft and breaking and entering in 2013 season and armed robbery in 2015 season, and he was released from prison in 2020 and remained on parole until 2021. And additional business charges filed in 2025 included making threats and misusing the emergency 911 system. And the case, by the way, has drawn national attention. President Donald Trump called Brown a lunatic, lunatic, and used the incident to argue for together sentencing laws and greater federal involvement in violent crime cases locally. Locally, the community, by the way, has been shaken, and she was very smart and very talented and very artistic. One neighbor said she could have, by the way, taken the world by storm with her potential, and she had a skill for this to put the colors down and mix them up and get exactly what you had in mind. And phenomenal, another neighbor said. Another, another pointed to a simple flower, by the way, painted in the corner of their home. It is simple, by the way, but to me, it's so special. And the neighbor said, and I am so glad I had her sign it. And the neighbors, by the way, say her work lives on in their homes and hearts, and every time I come in there in here, by the way, and I say her name, her memory is here every day. And their time with her was brief. Neighbors were struck by her intelligence and drive. And others recalled, by the way, conversations about the differences between life in Ukraine and in Charlotte. And she had no driver's, by the way, license, relying instead on public transportation, something she explained was common in her hometown. And genuine, genuine Fornings, genuine Fornings, former publisher, by the way, of Hunter Valley Living magazine, worked on a story about Zarutska's family in 2023, and they were just, by the way, a very sweet family, and it was such an honor to feature them all. And Fornges told Fox News, by the way, digital, I was very inspired by the family set up there, and the children were just young and sweet, and they were very excited to be here in the country for the first time. And they had only just come. I don't think that they were even speaking English at that point, and they had literally just arrived, but they were just excited and they were just having a lot of fun with the pictures, like just being kind of silly and cute. And I do remember, by the way, Iryna, she was very sweet and polite and just happy and just very fun loving. And I picked up, by the way, on the natural joy that they had as a family. And now it's heartbreaking and so sad. I can't even really find words to express. And she added that, by the way, it's just hard to even really wrap my head around what has happened to Iryna in the days since her death. And those, when you, by the way, hear say they feel a responsibility to keep her memory alive and say her name and make her real. And one neighbor said, for her neighbors, by the way, the flowers she left behind are more than art. They are a reminder of the young women and who dreamed of building a new life in America. And during a moving, by the way, part of Tuesday's news conference, and Ferguson shared, by the way, a message from the Zarutska family. And after Iryna death, the embassy, by the way, in Ukraine called and said, we will help you bring her home. And but her family said no. Said no, her family, by the way. And they told us she loved America. And they wanted to bury her here now. And so I think we can give her an America to be proud of. Thank you so much. Have a nice time and great day. Thank you so much. Goodbye. Thank you.